The following is from Fire in the Head, Shamanism and the Celtic Spirit by Tom Cowan. In the 1890s, Irish poet and nationalist W.B. Yeats entitled a poem The Song of Wandering Aengus. It begins, "I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread." With this fishing rod, made from a tree long believed by the Celts to have magical properties, and in the enchanted twilight of early dawn, when moth-like stars were flickering out, Aengus catches a silver trout that he takes home to cook. But while he is building the fire, he hears someone speak his name and looks over to where he had lain the fish on the floor. It had transformed into a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair. After calling out his name, the fairy girl runs out the door and disappears in the brightening air of day. Aengus vows to find the fairy maiden and grows old searching for her through hollow lands and hilly lands. Yeats' Aengus may have been a shaman. He had the fire in his head that shamans everywhere believe is the source of their enlightenment, illuminating visions of other realities. The shamanic journey begins and ends in the mind, in an altered state of consciousness, regardless of any other worlds, independent of the mind the shaman visits along the way. Following the light of his vision, Aengus journeyed through the hollow lands that lie just below or behind the denser terrain of ordinary reality. In some respects, Aengus's journey is a classic shamanic soul journey, illuminated by the imagination. But calling attention to that does not lessen its authenticity, for the imagination is the shaman's visionary tool that describes the contents of the imaginal realm of consciousness, and the survival of shamanism over the last 20,000 years strongly suggests that the tool works. Each culture's shamanic lore reflects the distinctiveness of that culture, just as each shaman's adventures reflect what is most unique to that shaman as an individual. One would expect this of an experience that is at once personal and transpersonal. The content of the shaman's visions is shaped by the beliefs and expectations of both the shaman and the culture. The fire in the head is personally enkindled by the shaman, but the kindling is collected in part from the beliefs and values of the culture. The silver trout, the hazel wand, the spirit girl with apple blossoms in her hair, the hollow hills, these themes are recognizable to many Celts, whether they are shamans or not. They are part of the Celtic folklore within which the Celtic shaman operates. In Celtic lands, a strong belief in the immanence of the otherworld persists even today. Modern Irish storytelling abounds with ordinary people who hear the songs and merriment of the fairy folk, encounter troops of fairies, and slip into the twilight of the otherworld, where they undergo adventures that rival the accounts of the greatest shamans. These ordinary folk are by no means trained in shamanic techniques of ecstasy, but a culture that takes such experiences for granted tends to reinforce their spontaneous occurrence. From a Celtic perspective, the shaman's world of spirit and power seems always poised to break through ordinary consciousness, while fishing for trout, while lighting a fire for breakfast. We do not know if Yeats' Aengus ever found the spirit woman, who apparently changed his life forever. One can hope that he was successful, that he found her, and that he could kiss her lips and take her hands, and walk among the long dappled grass, and pluck till time and times are done the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun.